What's up, everyone? Tara Roberts here with 4for4, and we're talking league winners. What players can you target for true league winning upside that will vault your team to a fantasy championship? Before we get started, remember to like this video and subscribe. And if you want more fantasy insights and tips, head over to 4for4.com/plans and sign up for a subscription today. And exclusively for our YouTube audience, use promo code YouTube at checkout to save 25%. Now let's go ahead and dive right in with our first player, DeVonta Smith. DeVonta Smith's upside could go through the roof with Dallas Goedert out with a forearm injury. Now, this is a multi-week injury here, likely IR, possibly not even the minimum 4 games for IR. This is the second year in a row that Dallas Goedert has had a significant injury in the back half of the season, which means that we do actually have some good numbers to compare Smith's upside with Dallas Goedert being out. Goedert was injured in week 10 of 2022, and from week 11 forward, DeVonta Smith averaged just over 18 fantasy points per game in PPR, making him wide receiver 8 in average points per game, just 2 spots behind A.J. Brown. And that was the true driving factor to why fantasy analysts and managers were so aggressive on DeVonta Smith during the draft season. We had such a strong sample size of what Smith is as a 1B to Brown's 1A. And now is a good time to make that trade for Smith because fantasy managers in your league might be desperate for a win this week with Smith on a bye week. They also might think that they're selling high on Smith, not knowing the true, legitimate top 10 upside that he has moving forward. The next player that we're going to talk about here is Tyjae Hockenson. Josh Dobbs had a fantastic game in his first game with the Vikings on short notice with literally no preparation. It is a fantastic story, and Dobbs gave us exactly what we needed, a high-end QB1 fantasy performance. In Arizona, Dobbs' leading target recipient was Marquise Brown with 69 targets from Dobbs. Makes sense. But the next two players were Zach Ertz and Trey McBride with a total of 78 targets between the two of them. Tyjae Hockenson has a total of 80 targets on the season to lead the Vikings, and yes, that is influenced by the absence of Justin Jefferson, but even in games with Justin Jefferson, Hockenson was the clear second target with strong volume. Hawk is tied in 3 in average points per game in PPR, averaging 14.5 points per game. The difference between him and Mark Andrews is just touchdowns. Hawk actually has 19 more targets than Andrews, but just half the touchdowns. The volume is there. That means that he's reliable, consistent, and he will close out the season with a quarterback that favors tight ends. Now let's talk about one more player here, Derrick Henry. I have talked about Derrick Henry before, but now that the trade deadline has passed, we need to revisit him and understand why I've been so in on Derrick Henry as a trade target, because I truly, truly believe that Derrick Henry will win fantasy leagues in the playoffs. Derrick Henry is RB8 in total points and RB12 in average points per game in PPR, yet somehow people are still disappointed in him. No matter which way you cut it, Derrick Henry is an RB1. Now again, for some reason, people just have this negative sentiment around Derrick Henry. And a lot of that has to do with wishful thinking regarding Tyjae Spears and a misconception around snap count. Derrick Henry has nearly double the fantasy points per snap in PPR compared to Spears. So basically, all this is telling us is that Spears being on the field isn't about the Titans utilizing Spears for actual production. Tyjae Spears is on the field to help limit overworking Derrick Henry. And when Derrick Henry is on the field, he is on the field to get touches and produce. Now, none of that is a knock on Tyjae Spears. He's been very productive with his touches, and I am very pro Tyjae Spears as someone that you must roster as a high-end handcuff. But that is it. Honestly, I would be in for trading for Tyjae Spears as well for his league-winning upside if Derrick Henry were to go down. And if Tyjae Spears ends up as a lead back, he would be 100% a league winner. But that is also 100% contingent on Derrick Henry's health. King Henry remains King Henry. The Titans face the Houston defense twice in the fantasy playoffs. Houston's defense hasn't really been a huge layup on the ground, and when you look at it at first glance, they're a top 10 team in terms of fewest rushing yards allowed to opposing teams. But they're in the top 10 of the most touchdowns allowed to opposing teams. And that is exactly what we need from Derrick Henry. Breaking 100 yards for Henry, that is cake. He's averaging 75 yards per game. We don't need a team that will allow him yardage. We need a team that will allow him touchdowns. If we get that, we're talking 20 to 30 fantasy point performances in the first round of the playoffs and the championship week of the playoffs. That is huge. That is true league winning upside. And that wraps things up for us. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like the video, comment below, and if you want more fantasy insights and tips, head over to 444.com/plans and sign up for a subscription today. And exclusively for our YouTube audience, use promo code YouTube at checkout to save 25%.